Meditation is most importantly a way to come to be more present and more alive to yourself and your experience. There are lots of kinds of meditation. There's meditation where you focus on a candle flame or where you recite a mantra or a prayer. And those are ways to quiet the mind, because the mind is full of a lot of thoughts and plans and worries and memories and trying to solve problems. And when you begin to focus on a flower or a candle flame or a mantra or your breath, what you do is take your attention and direct it so that it begins to quiet the mind. Everybody likes a good night's sleep, right? When you get to bed and you think, oh, I hope I can fall asleep easily and have a nice, long, sound, quiet sleep, because it refreshes you. In the same way, meditation can refresh you. It can quiet you so that you then feel more relaxed and more gracious, easier in yourself, and more present.
Yeah.
Alive in a different way. Instead of being reactive when we are tense and over full of thoughts and busy, something comes to us and we immediately react. If we quiet the mind and feel the breath and body more carefully, then we can be responsive. We can see the person in front of us rather than be worried about all our ideas. So it brings us more alive in a connected and mindful and attentive way. Can I tell you a story?
Please, yes.
And then I'll teach a little more how to do the meditation. They are starting to use mindfulness meditation in the U.S. military. And I am very glad about it, because many of the soldiers are very young. They've never been out of their hometown, and then they're sent to some foreign country, and it's very, very difficult for them, but they're also carrying big weapons. So if they're not at peace or calm or stable in themselves, things can get much worse.
Yes.
So I want these young men and women also to have a way to center themselves and to be more aware and more regulated in their own hearts, so that they can do their job with minimum harm to themselves or anybody else. So one young Army officer who had a bad temper and got angry easily was told that he must do 8 weeks of meditation training. And he began, and the training was to help with his anger. So he began to simply feel his breath and feel his body and notice the feelings and all the things that were happening, but to try to stay calm with them rather than just get lost in them.
Feeling his feelings,
but as a witness to his feelings. To become like the mirror that notices what's present, but the mirror doesn't get upset. In the same way, meditation invites you to become like a mirror. Mindfulness meditation invites you to become like a mirror, to notice anger or sadness or fear or love, but not to get lost and upset by each one. Otherwise you feel angry and you're upset, and then you're sad and you're upset, and you get thrown around by every feeling in every circumstance.
Yes.
Instead, with mindfulness, you can learn to feel your feelings and experience. You can respect them, so it's not a shutting them off, but you become like the mirror that can know them, the witness, And then you can decide, do I want to do something? Do I need to say something? Is there something that asks a response? Or maybe not. Maybe staying calm is better. You have a choice. So after 6 weeks of this training, the Army officer went to the supermarket on the way home, and it was evening and it was crowded. And he had all his groceries and got in line, and the person in front of him was in the wrong line. She had only one item she was buying, and she should have been in the express line, the fast line. And because he was one of these people, things should be done the right way, or he got irritated, he started to get angry. She was also carrying a baby. When they got up to the checkout clerk, the woman at the cash register started talking to the baby and the mother, and he got more angry. And then they passed the baby over to the woman at the cash register, and he got really angry.
Yes.
Don't you know there's a long line? This is many people waiting. This is wrong. But because he'd started to practice the meditation of calming himself and being aware, he noticed the anger rise, and it felt like fire. It was painful. So he took some deep breaths, and he named it very simply, like a mirror, oh, this is anger. And just by witnessing it mindfully, with a kindness, the anger began to subside. So when he got up to the checkout clerk, he talked to her, and he said, you know, I saw you talking to that woman with the baby, and it was kind of a cute little boy. He was wearing little shoes, and so he was not so angry. And she said, oh, did you like him? He's my baby. You see, my husband was killed in Afghanistan last year. He is a soldier too, like you. So now I have to work full time, and my mother takes care of the baby. She brings him in once a day so I can see him. We are very quick to judge another person. We are also very quick to be judgmental of ourselves. To learn meditation is to begin to discover mindfulness or loving awareness like the mirror that can see our reactions and our fears and our anger and our longing with kindness and compassion, and not be so reactive to it. The way this is done to start with is to sit in a way that you are comfortable. I'm sitting on a chair now, which is comfortable for me. Some people want to sit on the floor. Whatever way is comfortable and also has some dignity to it, so that you are like the king or the queen on the throne. You are gracious, dignified, and comfortable.
Why graciousness plays a role?
Why graciousness?
Yes.
To meditate with mindfulness is to stop the conflict with your body or your feelings or your thoughts. It's to find a still place within that is quite alive, but not fighting against the world. And then you can learn to respond. It is the same way in martial arts. If you are studying something like Aikido, and somebody comes at you very angry, if you meet with the same anger, you are in trouble. But if you center yourself and are calm and gracious, then when that anger comes, you can step aside and help them fall all the way to the floor, or move out of the way, and their energy then will not harm you, and it won't even harm them. So in this way, with a kind attention or a gracious attention, instead of adding judgment, I should be quiet, I shouldn't do this, you take a posture that allows for presence and dignity and kindness, and then you begin to quiet yourself. Quiet doesn't mean that there's no thoughts or feelings. This is very important. It means instead that you come into the present experience rather than all the thoughts about the past and the future, which is what keeps our mind busy. And the simplest way to do it, the most universal meditation, is to become aware of your breathing.
Well, some people I know in my culture, they think that sometimes anger helps you to achieve.
Yes, so anger can be helpful, and the Greeks called anger the noble emotion because you stand up for what's right. However, we confuse anger and strength, or anger and courage. Sometimes, if you see somebody who lives with a lot of anger, they're not very happy. The people around them are not very happy, their wife or their husband, their children. So it doesn't actually serve them much of the time. Maybe once in a while some strong anger could be helpful. But a lot of the time, if you're an angry person, you actually could be quite unhappy. There is an alternative, which is courage, strength, dignity, willing to speak out, willing to stand up, that doesn't require so much anger.
It doesn't require.
And it can be also very effective.
Where does it come? How do you experience this courage? Like, what's the difference from inside feeling, if you can explain?
Yes, let me try to explain.
Also try to feel it in yourself?
In the same way, let me use, in the same way, when I will continue with the martial arts image, because people need to feel that they can protect themselves and take care of themselves well. I will use the martial arts image. If you are entering into martial arts with Aikido or Judo, and you are angry, you don't see clearly, you cannot handle the aggression of the other person very well, but if you come in and you are calm and strong and centered, that is the very best thing you can do. It is good for you, and it also is good for whatever conflict that you have to deal with. Put it another way. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh from Vietnam said that when the crowded Vietnamese refugee boats met with big storms or pirates, if everyone panicked and they were afraid and reactive and angry, everything would be lost. But if there was one person on the boat who remained calm and centered, they could guide everyone in the best way to survive. So to be calm and centered doesn't mean that you're not strong. You can be centered and strong and clear-eyed, and we all know people like this.
Yes.
They're the people who you want with you in difficulty, in a storm or an earthquake or a fire. That person who's courageous and strong and clear. And these are the qualities that you begin to invite when you take your seat in meditation. Now, if you sit and you begin to pay attention to just feel your breath, coolness in the nostrils or the swirling in the back of the throat or the rise and fall of chest or belly, and if it's difficult, you can just put your hand on your belly and feel how your body breathes by itself. You don't have to make a special breath, but you let the breath breathe itself, and you start to feel that breathing, and with each breath you invite breathing in and out, calming the body and quieting the mind. So there's an invitation to come to a bit quieter and calmer place. Now when you do this, it doesn't work so easily. What happens is maybe your body relaxes a little bit, but maybe not. Sometimes you feel your breath, and then all of a sudden you feel how much tension there is from the fight with your boss this morning, and how much tension in your shoulders because you had to carry all this stuff, literally or figuratively, for your work or your family. So you want to calm, you feel your breath, and then the tension of the body that's already there becomes even stronger. Or, and then I'll tell you how to work with it in a minute, or you sit and feel your breath, nice, calm meditation, and then you realize how upset you are with your cousin who betrayed you, or how upset you are with the owner of the apartment building, or how upset, or you realize how much grief and sadness you have that you've been so busy taking care of business that when you sit and quiet, your heart says, you haven't had time to even feel the sadness because this person moved away or this person died, and all the grief of the hearts comes. So meditation doesn't mean you just become smiley and calm. It actually means that you develop the skill and the human ability to be present in a centered way, in a wise way, in a compassionate way for your full human experience. So there you are feeling your breath, and maybe tension arises in your body. What to do? You turn your awareness to the tension with loving kindness and mindfulness, and you relax around it, and you let it release or open or do what it wants to do. By paying attention to it, your body starts to let go and release the things that it carries. If you have a child who is struggling and trying to do their very best, really they care about you, they're doing their best, but children have to learn, and sometimes they fail, that's the way they learn. If you hit them and you get angry and you say, I'm going to help you by judging, how does that child feel, truthfully?
Painful.
Painful. And
Close.
already they're doing their very best, and so they contract and they get more afraid, it's painful. If you have that same child who's doing their best and you see that they're not doing it right, and you say, oh, I see you are doing your best and it's still not so good, and you're patient, and you say, let me support you, try it again, see if you can learn. Little by little you will learn to do it. That child feels like, oh, I could learn to do this. I could get better. That child sees not only that you love them, but that you respect them and that you support them. And in the same way, you can do that for yourself. Because we can also be very judgmental of ourselves. And that makes a lot of suffering. So you bring mindfulness and kindness. You bring them together to your experience. And then, instead of saying, I shouldn't be tense, my jaw shouldn't be tight, as soon as you say that, your jaw gets tighter, and the tension gets worse, and you get sicker, and you get ulcers, and you get heart problems. But if you say, oh, this tension, I let myself feel it now with kindness, the tension says, oh, thank you, and it starts to little by little let go. The shoulders start to drop a little bit. The body feels better because you are bringing kindness and mindfulness together to it. And so it can regulate. And there are many scientific studies now that show that through the training of mindfulness, healing happens quicker, the circulatory system opens better, the nervous system regulates itself and develops new neural patterns, all of which help the body to work better. But it requires mindfulness and kindness. If it's not kind, then it's not really mindfulness. It's judgment. No good, no good, no good. We already do too much of that. The same for emotions. Maybe you sit quietly and start to feel your breath, and then fear or anger or sadness that are difficult come. Although some people also have difficulty with happiness. We are very loyal to our suffering. I'm a suffering person.
Yes, we respect that, especially in Russia. Yes.
And that is also not good for the heart, for the body, not to speak of the spirit. So with mindfulness and kindness, you start to feel your breathing, and then maybe a flood of sadness comes because you miss someone, or someone has died, or you lost something. And instead of saying, I shouldn't feel sad, or I need to get over this and get back to work, almost as if you could honor it by bowing to it, you name it softly. And you say, oh, this is sadness. And you let the sadness, the tears come, and the feeling come. You don't have to think so much, but you actually feel it. And after a time, the tears quiet down, and your breath gets easier, and you become more present. And then maybe something comes that you're angry about or frightened of, and the fear comes. And instead of saying, I shouldn't be afraid, let me be strong, you bring mindfulness as a mirror, the witnessing, and kindness, and you say, oh, this is fear. What does this feel like? The palms get sweaty, the breath gets tight, the stomach or the heart contract. That's in the body. The emotion of fear comes. And you name it. Oh, fear, fear, let me feel this. And then you think, I shouldn't be afraid. And then you notice, oh, this is judging. And you say, oh, this is judging, thank you. With mindfulness and kindness, and then that goes, and then you go back to fear. Now here's the thing. If you become mindful of fear, not once or twice, but 50 or 100 times, then at some point, fear comes and you go, oh, fear, I know you. And it's not so scary, and it's not so difficult, because you make a relationship of mindfulness and kindness to it. You realize, oh, this is just part of being human, and it doesn't hurt you and take you over and torment you in the ways that it might have before. So in this way, learning to meditate with mindfulness and kindness, begins to give you the ability both to let go of things that are difficult and tension, and to feel the feelings that come without being lost, completely taken over by them, so that you can remain centered, well, peaceful, and clear, even with all the difficult things that come in your human life.